Hi, everybody. It's Eric Murray from the sugarhuddle.com. Well, all I got to say is wow. I didn't expect the Chiefs to kill the Bengals like they did. I really thought Cincy had a chance at this one. I thought it'd be a close one. Obviously playing at Arrowhead Stadium, primetime game, arguably the best crowd in football. Uh, that's a tough one. And Cincinnati's real terrible in primetime games, especially under Marvin Lewis. And, I should have obviously known better when I picked that game, but I just didn't see this one coming. Pat Mahomes, I mean, he can be unbelievable at times, or a lot of times, as we know, but, he's a guy the last few weeks. I mean, there's been times where he's been figured out a little bit, and I figured Cincinnati, coming off the tough loss last week, Kansas City also coming off a tough loss, maybe this would be a down to the wire, knockdown, drag out kind of game because remember, the Chiefs don't exactly play a whole lot of defense. So I was just really shocked by not only the effort that the Chiefs put on defensively, but of course, Mahomes and company kind of brushing off the disappointment of last week. And of course, picking up where they left off in the second half of last week's near victory in New England, 45-10. What can you say? Right out of the gate, it just felt like Kansas City was going to dominate this one. Cincinnati punted early. Kansas City drove right down the field, make it 7-0. Chiefs actually missed a field goal next time around, but then they came right back, scored another touchdown. And the only time it was a competitive close game is when Cincinnati finally answered back, and C.J. Uzoma had a 4-yard touchdown reception from Andy Dalton, make it 14-7. But before you know it, it was 24-7 Chiefs at the half. Then they score right out of the gate to start the second half. Then Ron Parker's pick six on Andy Dalton, 38-7. Good night, good luck. Have a safe trip back to Cincinnati. Just really an unbelievable all around effort by the Kansas City Chiefs. And I would argue when you factor in the defensive side of things, this was probably their best all around effort that they've had all season long. Mahomes just set the record for the most career touchdown passes for 8 games, 22 now. For eight career games, I should say, 22 now, dating back to last year, of course, when he made his debut against the Broncos. I mean, he just lit it up. And, Cincinnati's defense, they had no answers, couldn't really get much of a pass rush, which is kind of their bread and butter. And he just picked them apart left and right. Kareem Hunt, who oftentimes gets overlooked, is actually an Ohio native, ironically. He had the first couple of touchdowns there early on, made a real unbelievable hurdle at one point. And of course, Tyreek Hill made some real nice plays. Cincinnati had no answers for him. Sammy Watkins really stepped up. Sammy Watkins is like a fourth option, and he had a pretty nice game. Not huge stats, but a very nice game. And Travis Kelce, of course, one of the best tight ends in football, possibly the best. He made some key catches as well. But Bengals defense, they've been on decline. Did a really nice job of holding Pittsburgh in check until, of course, 10 seconds left in the ball game, as we all know. But yeah, going on the road in Kansas City, they just got absolutely flat out annihilated. And I don't know what was worse, their defensive effort or their offensive effort. Andy Dalton, we know how he can be, I hate to say a roller coaster, but we know how up and down he's been the last few years now. And, he threw 29 passes, 14 of them were targeted for A.J. Green, including Ron Parker's pick six, which was so telegraphed. Just bad throw all the way. And at one point in the game, I think Dalton actually pretty far into the game, he had 11 completions, and I think 10 of them were to Green, something like that. That's just not winning football. And Joe Mixon had a couple decent runs, but generally speaking, they couldn't really run it much. Chiefs defense was very, very stingy, surprisingly. And, I just look at the Bengals, and now all of a sudden they're 4-3. They were so close, this close to being 5-1 last week. Now they're a 4-3 football team, and you do have to ask yourself, where are they headed? Baltimore lost again. They're 4-3. Pittsburgh's on a bye. They're 3-2-1. So wide open division. AFC should be wide open as far as wild cards, but Bengals right now, I really don't know. They're a little bit banged up. Dalton, he's kind of got into some bad habits lately. You don't know where you're going to get with the running game any given week because it's still not a rock solid offensive line, and the Chiefs surprisingly had a pretty good pass rush. In fact, that opening drive punt they forced was the first, I think, 3 and out or first punt that they forced in like 17 possessions, something crazy like that, because that's how bad their defense is. Obviously, they're still waiting on Eric Berry to get back, but I just don't know with the Bengals right now. You just kind of wonder, where are things headed for this football team? And again, they're still above 500, but I don't know. Last couple of weeks kind of makes you question this football team a little bit, and you do have to wonder, are they a playoff team, or are they one of those teams that gets off to a pretty good start, and then all of a sudden, they're 7-9 before you know it, 8-8, way out of the playoff picture, and you're left to thinking what could have been. So, the Bengals, terrible in primetime games. Again, should have known better as far as, I think I picked the Chiefs to win, but I picked the Bengals to cover. Clearly, they didn't cover, just by a little bit. And then, of course, with Kansas City, they showed that, last week doesn't faze them. They're still going to have to play a lot of defense going forward. But I really liked what they did against the Bengals. And, again, going back to Mahomes, this kid's unbelievable. He had a throw that he got hit basically on the elbow as he was releasing it, and still went 60 yards down the field for completion, Tyreek Hill. You just can't teach that. And certainly a decision to draft him looks smarter and smarter by the day, even with Alex Smith's current success in Washington. But you look at the Chiefs, next week, or actually technically now this week because it's Monday. They play the Broncos. They host the Broncos. And, even the Broncos are coming off an impressive week and played them tough last time around a few weeks back. It looks pretty encouraging that Kansas City's going to get that win, stay ahead of the Chargers in the division. Obviously, it's going to be a two-horse race in the AFC West. But even with the loss to New England last week, they would have just played some defense. They would have had that win. They would have came out Foxborough with the win. So if you're Kansas City, really the main thing is just keep on winning because, even if you have to play New England playoffs, if you get them in Kansas City, that's a really, really hostile environment. I don't care how good New England is in the playoffs. It's a hostile environment. It's definitely an opportunity for the Kansas City Chiefs to steal one and go to the Super Bowl. It's interesting at one point because Chris Collinsworth, said on the NBC telecast, he was asked by Al Michaels, do you think Andy Reid can, win a Super Bowl? And Chris Collinsworth said, yeah, he thinks with this current team as it's presently constructed, it will. So I guess the thing that really interested me is, when is Eric Berry going to finally come back? And when he does, what kind of impact will he make in that secondary for the Chiefs? Because their secondary is still pretty banged up, which makes this effort that much more remarkable. Andy Dalton was like 15 of 29, 100 and, I think he had 100 and some yards passing. I think he had less than 200 yards. So really, really impressed by Kansas City all around. Like I said, I think this was their best all-around effort that they've had all season long. And, we're, 7 weeks in the season now. Should have another win this weekend coming up. You just wonder, what's the ceiling of this football team? Again, they're not playing in the NFC. They don't have to worry about the Rams and the Saints and some of these other teams in the postseason. It's basically them and New England. We'll see what Pittsburgh does in the coming weeks, but it feels like there's a clear path for Kansas City to really make a run. And this is another big game, another statement game. They're going to have some tough games coming up following Denver, and even Denver itself will be a tough game. But anyways, those are some of my thoughts on the Sunday night game. Please head to the Sugar Huddle, thesugarhuddle.com. Check out my articles and videos. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll have a Monday night video tomorrow, so please look for that. But anyways, take care.